Community Heart Media. Your voice, your heart, your opportunity. Welcome to tonight's show.
Hey, how are you, Arun? Hello, viewers.
Hi, everyone.
It's great to be here tonight on 98.9 Northwest FM. We always seem to have a little bit of a technical problem, Julio, but it's a lovely day out there, and it's really great to do live radio from here from Northwest FM in Glenroy, and also come from people's homes. Kelly, it's great to see you this evening.
It is great to be here, and yeah, it's definitely a beautiful evening here in Melbourne. It's been like winter, but let's hope that summer is now on its way.
And Julio, we've got viewers all around the world listening to the program tonight. It's fantastic. We've got podcasts, we've got YouTubes, we've got on the Facebook. We're here coming through the radio. Tune in, mate. They can listen to us from anywhere and everywhere. It's exciting, isn't it?
That's right. It's really good. And now with YouTube having on, it's pretty good. So I've got a full program running.
Full program. And Kelly, I might get you to introduce our special guest tonight. I'm very excited about tonight because we're out of lockdown, Kelly. So it's the time to meet up. Hey?
It definitely is. And I don't know about anyone here. Like, obviously, we're broadcasting worldwide, but here in Melbourne, being the most lockdown city in the world, we have been counting down the day. So it has been great to meet up. And so I'd like to introduce Arun. So I met Arun when I first came to Melbourne. So I've been here in Melbourne now for 4 years. And a friend said to me to join what's called Meetup. It's an app that many people know about. And I like to think about things back in the old days. We used to, schedule, say, dancing first night of a Saturday evening. You put it in your calendar. Well, now Meetup's something that's digital, obviously, like everything now. And Arun runs the biggest Meetup group across Australia. So he's here to talk to us tonight about, I have so many questions for him about how he started his Meetup, his journey, his experience, and he's got some incredible stories to share. So thanks for joining us, Arun.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
Now, Arun, let's just get to know a bit about yourself tonight, mate. Tell us a bit who Arun is. Who are you? Tell us a bit about your life story that has brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Arun. I was born in India, precisely the south of India. I first came to Australia in 2007 on a work visa, and I stayed here for 3 years, and I absolutely liked it. And then I came back in 2015, and I stayed in Melbourne ever since. I do work full time, but Meetup was a way for me to connect with everyone outside of work, just to forget about what's going on with work, socialize a bit, meet people from different walks of life. Our group is very diverse, and people are in different industries, and it's always fun to organize events and meet a lot of new people.
Well, you might as well tell us what you do for a job. What sort of job have you got?
I played the role of a release manager. I'm contracting with Telstra, so that's my 9 to 5, 5 days a week kind of job. So I've done that for almost 5 years now. So I started Meetup right before I joined Telstra. So I've been with Telstra before as well, but on a different role between 2005 and 2011, sometime working here. So Meetup has always been, I've been to other Meetups before, but ever since I had mine, it gave me an opportunity to have different walks, different socializing events and all that.
What is Meetup, Arun? What is it?
It is a platform. So just like Facebook, it's a platform where you have members and you have organizers. Organizers can create a group. There is a monthly fee for creating a group. It's around $25 a month, and it depends on the interest level. Like Kelly was mentioning, you can have a Zumba class on Meetup. You can have a dance class. You can also have walks. There are photographic groups like Julio was mentioning earlier. So it's a wide range of groups that are there. Ours is called Explore Melbourne, and it's very general. So we do events. We go to all the festivals. So there are a few Mexican festivals coming up in December. There's Latin festival in January. So we don't organize events, but we go to different events. So we go together We go to restaurants together. We do coffee catch-ups at Brunetti's and a few other cafes in the city. So there's a wide range of events. How it brings people together is you don't need to have a friend to go to events. So let's say you're by yourself in the city or anywhere, you just want to socialize, but you don't know who you want to go with. You just join a meetup event, and then you go together as a group. And what our group does is we have this. We do have a few rules just to make sure people don't misbehave and to keep the community safe. So that's where I come in, just monitor. We do have very few rules. It's more of providing a safe environment where people can meet each other, have a good time, come back again, and do a few other things together.
But Mark, Arun makes it sound very easy, but as he mentioned, he has a 9-to-5 job as well. And on average, Arun, how many meetups or events would you be having per week at the moment?
We do have something every day, but most of the events during the week are after 6 or 7. Because my job is pretty flexible, I do work during the day, and I can always finish some pending work after I come back home after events. Most main events are on the weekends. We do day trips and all that. But the challenging bit is to answer people's questions, and there's always something interesting. Because I must have organized more than 1,500 events in the last 5 years. Because this group was founded in September 2016.
Arun, what motivates you to do this? I mean, do you just love meeting people, or you're bored, or what's going on?
No, I do have a wife. I'm not bored.
You've got a wife.
Yes. She's laughing in the background. Kelly probably has met my wife. I do have a wife.
She's lovely.
So does she come to all the meetup groups with you?
Not all of it. Initially, of course, she was complaining that I was doing too many meetups. She even thought I was having a love affair with Meetup. But thanks to lockdown, work from home, she's very happy to have me outside home, so she can have a bit of a long time. I think motivation. Coming back to motivation, initially I just wanted to find events that I enjoy doing. Most of the events back in 2016 in Melbourne were mostly drinking events that were quite easy to organize. But I just wanted some events where we walked together. One of the first few successful events that we had was to meet at St. Kilda Pier and go to see the penguins. And I used to do that once a week. That's how we started. And
wow.
After doing a few times, and then it got to a point where I need to have a bit of variety. And then I started doing street art walks, looking at graffiti in the city, like Horseshoe Lane, ACDC Lane, few other lanes. That's how it started. Then we started doing that in Fitzroy and Collingwood. And from then on, it took a leap where we did stargazing events, go to regional Victoria. I take photos for people with the stars and things like that. So we've come a long way. Obviously, motivation has changed from time to time. Initially, it was just to keep the group growing. And then we had a few problems with a few groups copying us. And then you had to be on top of the game. And then at some point, I was like, oh, we want to be the largest in Melbourne. And then once we got to that, we were looking at Australia. And
wow.
I just did a lot of events.
Arun, I think Julio's looking a bit lost. I don't think he's got a clue what a meetup group is. Julio, have you ever heard about a meetup group? Do you know what we're talking about?
Yes, I do know, but I haven't done Arun's meetup group. No, probably that way.
Have you been to any others, Julio?
No, actually, I've come. I have been to a photography one. I lie, and that was actually quite good. But no, I haven't been really to any big meetup groups where, like what you're saying with Penguin going out. Yeah. That sounds really interesting, though. And also,
Julio, are you okay, Julio? Like, don't you like people?
Well, if my commentators don't keep me so busy making videos and stuff all the time, yes, I probably have time to go out and explore.
Arun, what are we going to do about Julio? Because he's locked at home. He never goes out. He's got no friends. I mean, is he the ideal candidate for a meetup? Someone's got no friends, stays at home all the time, needs a life. Can you give Julio a life or what?
Mark, do not put him in a box. I'm just going to say that right now. No.
I think we do get a wide range of people, but then it's just because Julio probably has friends in other cities. So when you're moving places, or probably people are coming out of lockdown, some people are still scared to socialize. Obviously, you have the double vaccination and all that, but it's perfect. Like Julio could still hang out with his friends on other days, and if on a day when he's available, he could do other activities. That's probably where Meetup comes in. So.
Yes.
Come on, Julio. You inspired, mate? What's going on?
I actually am curious. So that sounds really good about Meetup. I might have a more bigger look at it and see what I could do. And go from there.
Kelly, you're a Meetup believer, aren't you, Kel?
Yeah, I definitely am. And that's why I was like, well, we can't put everyone into a box because I'm a fairly social, extroverted person. I work 8:30 till 5 as well, but I like to, hang out with my friends as well as meet up. And I think it gives that opportunity to meet new people. I've met some great new friends through Meetup, and then also to look at different locations that, for me, myself, I'm not from Melbourne, not from Australia. And so I get to go to different destinations where I wouldn't have even known about or wouldn't have even thought about. And also, like Arun was touching on as well, that safe point of view, because otherwise so many people get lost on the trains. We had an interesting story the other day, driving there or just having someone, to provide that leadership with and to guide people as well.
Well, there you go. Now, look, people, don't forget it's 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio, and we want your comments tonight. Make sure you put a comment in the comments page on Facebook, whether you're listening to Facebook on 98.9 Northwest FM or on Community Heart Radio Facebook. Love to hear from you. Have you been to a meetup? What's your experience of meetup? Do you want to meet Julio at a meetup? Like meetup, we're meeting up now. So, it's all about meeting up, Kelly, don't you reckon?
Well, yeah, it definitely does. It definitely is. And I guess hearing what you're saying, Arun, so starting back 2016, you started off from a couple of times or once a week, St Kilda Pier, going to see the penguins, into now you're Australia's, biggest meetup group. And then we've been through the COVID situation and obviously here in Melbourne. What's been that, I guess, that driver behind those big changes, and how did you find the last 18 months as well?
The last 18 months were tricky. However, I think I remember it was December 2019, Jan 2020, when we were just joking about COVID, and back then it was called coronavirus. And then we were talking about that, and that was probably the busiest months leading up to the pandemic. So it was a huge step transitioning from in-person events to Zoom events, because Explore Melbourne by definition is outdoors. But we did organize a few events during the first lockdown and the second lockdown. We did meet a lot of people. I met a girl from Spain on our Zoom events. She just entered Australia and was in 14-day quarantine. She joined our group the second day, and she still says, Arun was my first friend she met, and she's still a good friend. She still comes to events. So we met so many interesting people, and we've been able to help them having different events, like talking about what to watch on Netflix, from having these trivia nights, just common chat. But I know online meetups sometimes it's like when you're having a Zoom call with 20 people, not everyone is comfortable speaking in front of 20 people. So that takes a bit of little bit of experience, and people take some time to get over that. However, nothing beats an in-person meetup. So fortunately, in June, we were able to organize a small catch-up between the first lockdown and the second lockdown. Second was pretty big. We had a lot of events, almost an online event every day. And then came November, December last year, and we could organize it regularly, in-person events. Again, we went to lockdowns this year in June, July, but we did only have one event per week, just to catch up with people, just seeing what they're doing, what's keeping them busy. I think the 5th and 6th lockdown were quite tough for a few people. But I think distraction was the key, and I'm glad we are sort of out of it for now. Hopefully it stays that way. It's been challenging, definitely, and not everyone who are part of our group are still back. I think a lot of people are still waiting it out. I would rather say, but we're almost at maximum capacity right now. Outdoor events are limited to 30, and we almost get 30 for our day trips and events. Of course, weekdays people are busy with other things. I think now with Melbourne money, you get 30% off in the city, so people are very busy dining out. Yeah.
Wow. So look, so Julio, I'm still a bit worried about you, mate. Now, how do you join? How does Julio join a meetup, Arun? Like, what's he got to do? Because Julio won't do it unless we give him the steps.
Sure. Yeah. So there are multiple ways of doing it. If you use any of the smartphones, you can download Meetup app. All you have to search is Meetup, Meetup, and on the website it's called meetup.com, and you can just register a free account. You can, I think, use the same account as Facebook and register. It takes less than 5 minutes to register. Usually it's a good idea to put a photo. You don't necessarily have to have your real name. It's best to just put your first name. You don't want people finding you and adding you on Facebook right after the first meeting. So I would recommend have a nickname on Facebook and a photo. It doesn't have to be, any photo will do. And you can just search your interest and then go on from there.
All right. So Julio would work as a name. But look, we've got a question, actually. We've got a question. What's the age ranges for Meetup? What age can you be?
It depends on the meetup. Our meetups are limited to people 18 and over. I think the oldest person who has joined our meetup is probably 92. She joined one of the online events. Wow. But we do have a few people over 70 coming to some city walks, which are not that hard. There's no age limit, but most people tend to be between 20s and 40s and 50s, that age group. But then there are certain groups specific for an age set. Explore Melbourne it's a wide range.
Okay. And in your experience, which groups are the ones, like what meetup types do you have? Like, is it more like sitting down dinners, or is it more dancing, or is the variety unlimited with the groups?
In Melbourne, especially, there are a lot of groups. Socializing seems to be quite a big thing after the lockdown. So there's a lot of people just paying someone to meet up, friends and such that. And dinners seems to be kicking off right now. Now, I think mostly it's a group size of 10. Salsa used to happen pre-COVID. I'm not sure if it's happening now. There are a few. It's a pretty wide range, but I've seen a lot of also technical meetups. If you're into certain industry, they have talks. There are groups for startups. There's quite a wide range of events. So once you sign up and you select your interest, Meetup will show you a list of groups that you could join. And then obviously to look for us, you can just search for Explore Melbourne on Google. You'll end up on our page on Meetup. However, there are plenty of other groups as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So it looks like, Arun, that Julio wants to go dancing. So he just signs up there. He wants to go for a dance on Saturday night. He could go Saturday night. He just sort of Googles Meetup dancing Saturday night. Is that how he does it?
It might work if there's an event on Saturday. Usually, sometimes what's happened is Meetup has been linking, or Google has been linking events to a venue. Let's say you're looking at a venue like Brunetti's in the city. We sometimes have coffee events at Brunetti's. So when you just search for Brunetti, Flinders Lane or Carlton, you would get events happening at that location, and you can go back into Meetup. So you can do that. That's a reverse way of doing it. However, you can just look up for events through the search option on Meetup once he registers. It's possible not all events happen on Saturdays, or certain events happen on a certain day depending on the venue and stuff. So he may not find it something for the day, but something that works out in a few weeks.
There you go.
So Arun, my question is, you have got now, 30,000 members, is that correct? Up to around about?
That is correct. So that's on our Meetup. We do have, because we have different, Explore Melbourne initially started as a Meetup group, but during the pandemic, especially the second lockdown, I started focusing more on our Facebook page. We only had about 500 followers then. So right now we are almost at 62,000 followers. So those are people who are not on Meetup. Those are people all around Victoria and the rest of Australia, sometimes other parts of the world. And I've been posting photos because I'm in the 5-kilometer radius in the city. I used to take photos with my phone, just the city, like empty city. So that's how we grew. So
wow. Just by simply posting those photos on the Facebook page, and you grew from, wow, that's incredible.
I mean, some of the comments were like so heartbreaking. There were photos of this block arcade once I posted, and there's a clock, and the clock was at 1:59 p.m. and there were people waiting for a minute to see whether it becomes 2 p.m. and it's crazy. That's how much we were in lockdown, and those photos got shared a lot. I think I remember once I posted a collection of lockdown photos, about 80 of them, and it got shared about 21,000 times. So that all helped in growing the group. Posting updates and changes of rules, because there's always changes to restrictions. And so I mean, that's a different part of Meetup. So I don't think they even know who's behind Explore Melbourne. But because I can hide behind the page, it's a bit different.
And did you have much of that experience prior, or has it been a good, really learning experience for you doing all of this?
Because I did my MBA in Taipei, Taiwan. I did organize some language exchange events. However, Meetup was a whole different experience. Initially, I remember the first few events, I was so nervous. So when I started Meetup in September 2016, no one showed up, even though I used to have people signing up, and nobody used to show up. And it took many months before they showed up. So I ended up doing things alone. Initially, I was so nervous. I used to go to a meeting point half an hour before the event, and now I probably arrive on time or a minute late. But things have changed. Of course, there are challenges. There's new people. It's hard to please everyone. My idea is if I can please maybe 80-90%, there's always people who will leave, who will come back again.
What do you think, mate? What was that difference? Like, many, like especially here in Victoria, you've got many startup like meetups or not-for-profits or companies and things. And like you said, when no one turned up, what do you think helped for that to really start to take off for your group?
It depends on what people are actually after. For instance, if people are looking to meet other people, you do want a good enough group size. Meeting people in a small group of 5, you probably won't have the same kind of interests, and it'll be very awkward having dinner together if it's a dinner meetup. That's one thing with our meetups. We used to have 40-50 people joining walks. We used to do walks inside the Royal Botanic Gardens, and there's always people with different interests who stay on to become friends. And I've had people take me out for dinner saying, as a thank you for them to have this social circle. You do have some students who are here. They probably don't know many people outside of their class, and there are a few people who just want to practice English. So we did have a wide range of events. But for a group to take off, I think people should be comfortable, and I think it's more on. They don't come to Explore Melbourne or my events because I'm good, but they come to our events because they exactly know what to expect, however good or bad it is. So I think that takes time.
Well, I've got some good news for Julio, because he lives out in, it's the north. So Grace is saying pretty big in North Asia. So that's probably a bit far for Julio to go, but North Asia. So it's a worldwide thing, this meetup, Arun. Is it? Did you have it meet up in India? You had some pretty big groups there, I'd imagine.
There are quite big groups there, but I haven't been to one in India. I did a few in Hong Kong and Taiwan, where they had quite a few groups happening. I think the type of events organized across the world is different. Of course, it's tailored to the local audience. I believe in Australia, Sydney, Melbourne, a little bit of Brisbane and Perth, and besides that, other cities are not that big. Sydney is probably a little bigger, but then they have different wide range of groups. But I believe that's the advantage as a traveler. If people are going to travel again, they could go to any city in the world, look for events, and then join an event where you're having conversation with a few locals, few travelers. So that makes their trip a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, if you're listening tonight, we want you to put a comment down. Love to hear if you've been involved in a meetup group. Tell us your experience. Tell us what you did. Love to hear your thoughts. Any questions about Meetup? We're here to answer it. It's really great to have Grace there giving a comment. Love to have some others on Facebook, either the Northwest FM Facebook site or the Community Heart Facebook site. We're trying to solve Julio's problems tonight, and I think we might have solved a few with him having to stay at home. Meetup seems to be the answer. In the second half, we're going to be pivoting a little bit the show and be going towards friendships. And I think, Arun, what would you say the whole thing of Meetup is? It's about creating friendships, isn't it?
Yes. So it's about creating lasting friendships and also growing a community. You're being part of a community. It's not about being one-to-one. It's a bit different from just networking on a one-to-one basis. It's more of, for instance, say Kelly or Julio coming to an event of ours or any event, you would have friends you've already met and you're also meeting new people. And because our group is very diverse, obviously pre-pandemic, we had a lot of people on working holidays, students, not too many tourists. However, even Melbourne is so multicultural. So attending an event with a group size of 30 is like visiting so many countries on the same day. You get to meet people with different values, different ways of life or cultural backgrounds. So it's all about making new friends, new connections, and also keeping up with your existing connections. So
I completely agree. I think it expands your horizons, it expands your network, and it gives you that different opportunity to meet people that you might not come across every day, you know, say at your workplace and your living situation. And like you said, Arun, Melbourne particularly is a multicultural city. And then, you meet, I find it's fantastic. And I particularly like your events, like you said, because they're so diverse. And Julio, trust me, you would like some of them. You could be, Arun is a great photographer as well. You could be doing the hikes, the dinners, and I think do you think that's what makes yours so, not only successful, but just welcoming to so many different community members?
Yeah, I think another thing that's different for Expo Melbourne compared to other meetup groups is all our meetups are through public transport. We don't do carpooling. One is COVID, also for the safety. So we meet together in the city, go together, and everything is planned around public transport. On Saturday, we went to Echuca on a day trip. We took the train up. We booked a bus back through V-Line. So that was public transport. Sunday, we went to Marysville, about two and a half hours from city. We hiked to the waterfalls and came. It was raining, but it's better to be out to celebrate end of lockdown. So everything is through public transport. Things have rarely gone wrong, but then you do have an option of taxi or Uber if things do go wrong. So we are always, also I don't think people, public transport takes some time to get used to. You need to know the timetables, the bus replacements if you're on a V-Line or metro services. I think that's
what I was going to ask you, Arun. How do you manage? How do you find it, Mark and Julio? Do you struggle yourself with the public transport, let alone organising a group of 30 people to get to Echuca for a day trip?
Well, he's got a bit of a fan here. The last message, Arun, great example of following a passion, sticking to it. As someone's been on numerous events and other ones, I can vouch how good Arun orchestrates these. So a bit of a happy customer there, Arun.
Yes, Shubhodeep has been to quite a few of our stargazing events and other events, and he's also a great friend of mine. Hang
on. I think we've found an event for Julio, stargazing. Tell us a bit about that one.
So stargazing, it's a bit of a I didn't initially think people would be interested to go stargaze. So I did show some photos. I used to do it myself. I used to go to regional Victoria, take photos of long exposure photos of the Milky Way. It was quite scary, but then some of my friends said, "Why don't you organize a group and go for one?" And I did take a group initially. But then I realized people do get bored after a certain time, especially if you're in winter and you're pretty cold. So then I started taking these photos of people with the stars, and that changed everything. And everyone wanted a photo with a torch lighting up the sky. So I have done more than 150 such events, and I have different locations, and all these locations are secret. So only the people actually going there know where we're going. Even if people get asked, they say it's McDonald's or somewhere.
Okay, I think we're getting down to the herbs and spices now, secret locations, and that sounds very good. Now, someone's a bit worried about the names. We got someone worried about the names. The safety concerns there about using different names in the profile, Julio. Arun, what's your feedback about that?
Yes. So what happens is when you're creating a Facebook Meetup profile, it's best if you don't want people to find you. That is. Use a nickname. I don't think the organizers or anyone would question that. If you're known by, say, Arun, if I use a name like Mark or any other name, people wouldn't mind. I would recommend, if you're new to meetups, just use a pseudonym because you don't want people adding you on Facebook, LinkedIn, and other profiles where, and you probably just acquaintances and you want to keep your personal life different from meetup life. So if you're worried about safety, you can use any nickname that people associate you with.
Hey, Kelly, you got a nickname? What's your little nickname there?
I do, actually. And that started when I first started in radio. My producer said to me, hang on a second, how do you pronounce your last name? And I told him, Arun his name was, and he said, well, why have two separate names? Kelly, Newley, let's just combine it and call you Kellogg's. And so that's what it was.
Kellogg's. Okay, Julio. We're looking for someone to go on a meetup group. Just look up Kellogg's. Now, Grace Julio seems like she's a massive meetup fan. I like how meetups also an opportunity for people who have events to promote, invite others that may be interested. Therefore, the ones that meet up are not only attendees, but a platform for others who have ideas and want to invite people too. So that's someone maximizing the old meetup, Arun.
Because the possibilities aren't endless. Obviously, Meetup has a few rules as a platform. You can't use it to sell certain things. And of course, that's been a challenge on our end as well, like to make sure people don't end up selling a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme to others because it can be misused in that form. So that's another cycle where you do have a lot of members, but then I'm constantly filtering out a few potential members that might make the group a bit more, not toxic. However, I want the group to be in a safe environment. But good possibilities are enormous, yes.
So, Arun, tell us when you, leading into that, what's been one of your horror stories? Like, what's been one of those moments or a few events that you've been like, how did this go so wrong? Or just some learning opportunities as well.
Yeah, so, well, there's not that bad stories. However, there are times when I have to remove somebody live on the in-person event. Like asking people to leave has been hard, but sometimes you have to do it when people misbehave or people just are there for the wrong reasons. That's been challenging. And sometimes removing them is not an issue, but Melbourne is pretty small. So I sometimes run into people who have been removed from the group. And that's been hard. Like you can't really pretend that you haven't seen them. I mean, when I remove somebody, of course, I must have got a complaint, or of course, when you do a lot of events, there is a pattern where you start identifying potential issues, and then when you remove them, you have a challenge of meeting them, and that's been a challenge. However, it's mostly confrontation. I once had this guy, I removed him, and he was like, "I will see you outside," and he looked like a bodybuilder, so I was a bit nervous. Going back home, doing a lot of 360s.
Now, Arun, you've got 30,000 members. You've got 60,000 followers. You're a very popular man. Obviously, we're on Community Heart tonight, and we support a lot of charities, a lot of community causes. Is there any chance that meetups want to support community causes or get involved in making a difference in the lives of other people? Is there some way that can join up?
No. Okay. What happened is we have done some charity events, especially during the bushfires. So I personally organized about 6 events, and we were able to raise about $1,500 for charities. But the charities differ, so that's something that we do maybe once a year. We pick a charity, all the proceeds from that event go to the charity. That's something that can be done, and there are few groups who do that. But it's very, it depends on the charity. Yeah, any event or any charities can be done through Meetup. And you could even have a Meetup group for the community radio as well. You could have online events. I mean, this could be, you could have Zoom events where you're inviting people from the community to join and broadcast it to other people as well. So instead of having one person doing it, you could have a discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping that a lot of your 30,000 members are listening to you tonight, and you might be able to play this show on your page, Arun. Now, look, we're gonna move into friendship. I'm really keen to sort of think about the whole thing of friendship. Now, we've solved Julio's problem, but I think that really you're in the business of making friends, and so I think we should have maybe the top 5 tips that Julio's got, Kelly's got, you've got, about how we can make friends out there, because I think there's a lot of people struggling, coming out of lockdown, thinking, well, I lost all my friends the last couple of years. I got no friends. Meetup sounds like a perfect way to start. So why don't we try and think about our top 5 tips of making a friend in 2022? So top 5 tips of making a friend in 2022. I'm going to get a tip from Kelly, from Julio, from yourself, and then we'll go around again, and we'll just keep trying to build up to our top 5. Arun, I suppose I'll give you the first crack at what would your advice be to someone listening to the show that thinks, well, I haven't got any friends. I've come out of lockdown. I'm isolated. How am I going to make some friends? What would be your number 1 tip?
Yep. So if the person's running any event, I know coming out of lockdown, we've probably not been talking in person is a whole different ballgame. So I would say be yourself, but then talk about common things that you did during Meetup, during lockdown. Could be shopping centers and something like that. Or when you're talking to people, don't ask too much personal information. I think that probably drives people off. Be yourself. Don't get too invasive. As in, be careful on what you ask. Do not make them uncomfortable, and you will have a friend. I mean, right now, I think a lot, not just people who want to make friends. There are a lot of people there who want to socialize, expand their network, which they've not been able to do for the last few months. So it'll be a lot easier now to make friends as long as you're being yourself and
well, I'm not sure we got one tip there. I'll be interested to see how Julio writes that one up. But what about you, Kelly? What's your tip if someone's listening and say, okay, Kelly, what's your tip on how to make some friends? What would you say?
Well, I would say join something like this and find 1 or 2 areas that you're particularly passionate about. So for myself, I really love my dancing. And so really finding that network and those community members where there might be a meetup for dancing, like Arun was saying, or went hiking on the weekend, and that was great. So really finding those 1 or 2 interests so that you meet those like-minded people, and you never know who you're going to come across. That would be my tip.
Thanks, Cal. Now, if you're listening and you've got a tip for us to how to make friends, we'd love to hear your tip on how to do it. Don't forget on your Facebook page, just write it in there and we'll put it up on the screen. Julio, have you got a tip for us how to make a friend in 2022?
Yeah, I found one out tonight. I just choose people that will volunteer me for stuff. I think that's a good tip for me.
Oh, yes. Ask anyone you know how to make a friend. That's an interesting one. Yes. Well, we know Julio's going out dancing at the Melbourne Dancing Meetup group, so that's going to be good.
Yeah, and stargazing, restaurants, photography. So I've got a lot of things to do this year.
That's fantastic. Arun, have you got another tip for us? How are we going to make a friend in 2022?
I agree with Kelly adding on. So if people are finding it hard to talk to people, join an activity. Could be a hiking, could be a walk in the city. As you're walking, you're more likely next to somebody and you're forced to talk. And that's a good way of coming out of the shell. That's a nice way to make friends. And the more people you meet, your confidence slowly builds up. And yeah.
No, I love it tonight. We're making friends here on 98.9 Northwest FM Community Heart. And Claudia David has said hi to us. Meetup has groups. We know that, and that's what we're promoting tonight, Claudia. It's great to have you here listening to the show. If you've got a tip, Claudia, on how we're going to make a friend, I'd love to hear your tip. Kelly, have you got another tip for us, how we're going to make a friend?
Well, I was just thinking, I don't know if it's so much a tip, but when you're meeting, like Arun is obviously, he's grown his meetup. He's learned a lot of the social media, the leadership components, working with different people, planning the transport. I think it enables you to also grow your leadership capacity, your personal capacity, your work, so for people needing to gain employment skills as well, I think it's also another good avenue for that. So I would say to gain confidence, employment opportunities, networking. I think that would be my tip.
Okay, we're starting to build it. We're going to go to Julio in a minute to hear what we've got. But Arun, we've got to have another tip, mate, because I just feel we're missing an angle. Let's just come from a different angle. Everyone's listened to our tips. Nothing resonates with them. What's another thing you could do to make a friend in 2022?
Yeah, besides Kelly's advice on networking, that's a great way as well. To make a friend, one could always start their own meetup group.
Yes.
That's probably the easiest way to make friends, because people, of course, it's hard to grow, but it's important to find a niche. So you need to look at what you're good at. It could be a drawing. You must be good at painting something. You could have a book reading group. You could have, as an organizer, it's a lot easier to do it. You don't have to be an extrovert for that. It could be an introvert. There are groups for introverts as well. So the key is to find an interest. You can start your own group. It doesn't have to be on Meetup. It could be a Facebook group as well, and slowly grow from there. That's probably the easiest way to make new friends.
And you know what, Arun? I love your tip on Community Heart Media developing their own Meetup. Mark, Julio, you down for that?
Oh, yes. Well, I think Julio's keen because I think he's going to go stargazing. But look, I'm going to put out the challenge to Grace and Claudia and anyone else listening. We want a tip from our audience. I think we've got one here. Claudia David, for me, stepping out of my comfort zone and starting a conversation with people has worked. So I think she's backing the tips we've got here. Well done, Claudia. It's great to have you listening tonight. And you'd agree with that one, wouldn't you, Arun?
Yeah, I definitely would agree. So when people come to meetups, I know people sometimes find it hard to go out of the comfort zone. But in a group, you feel that they are part of your community. It's like a classroom. So people feel like, okay, they're probably someone you've not met yet. So there is a little bit of trust. And it's not as intense as striking a conversation with somebody on the tram or on the train. So it gives that level of comfort. So I think attending events, striking conversations, doing things together. If you don't find anything that you want to do, start your own event. You could do events for pizza hopping. It just doesn't have to be bar hopping. There could be all sorts of events that one could start. Like Kelly was mentioning, having one for the community radio is a great option as well. Like you could have, once restrictions ease, you could have people in the studios and have outdoor events with some
broadcasting live from different locations. Absolutely.
Facebook Live with the stream that you're doing. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, and I think one thing you should understand is as somebody initially before my meetup, I used to go to other meetups. Not everyone wants to talk to you, so don't give up if you don't make a friend in the first attempt. It takes time, and not everyone wants to talk, and not everyone is there for the same reason. So don't take it on yourself. Like of course, before having my own group, even at my own groups, I have people who don't want to talk to me. So it's possible. So I think it takes some time to accept that, but then don't take it to yourself. Don't feel down. I know some people can be quite sensitive.
I like that one, Arun, about not giving up. That's a great tip. And I don't know where we got up to yet, but we're going to go through them in a minute. But Grace has come up with one. So what's Grace got to say here? She's saying, be friendly and genuinely interested. at the flip side, be interesting as well. I moved out of my life and grateful that people were genuinely interested in me as a person. It's a little bit of an insight too, Kelly. What do you reckon?
I definitely think it's a really interesting insight what Grace, sort of like she's sort of mentioning. It opens up, builds her confidence and shows her that people are generally interested in getting to know her. And I know for many people, it doesn't matter which life stage we're at, different cultural backgrounds, coming out of lockdown. Many people are at different circumstances and they want to know, am I accepted? Am I valued? And want to meet new people and want to feel engaged. So
but Kelly, what I like about what Grace is saying is become interesting yourself. Now, how have you become interesting? Like, what have you done to become interesting?
I don't know. You tell me, Mark. How have I become interesting?
Well, I'm thinking about Julio now. I'm thinking about good old Julio. He's going out to this meetup. He's going to look at the stars. How can Julio become interesting? Like, we've got to. How can we inform him?
Julio, we can get you a wig. That's a starting point.
Okay.
What do you reckon? A pink wig.
That sounds good. Good start. Yes.
Yeah.
Wear a suit as well, maybe. Just
pink wig and suit.
Aaron, we need your help here, mate. How can Julio? How can people become interesting when they're at a meetup, so people actually be attracted to talking to them?
So meetups are a little different from events like speed dating where you're trying to impress a lot of people. With meetups, it's a little bit different. You just have to be just focus on what your likes are. And a group of 30, you definitely find 5 people. That's all you need. 5 people in a group that have similar interests. You could be talking about movies, animation, whatnot. So when you attend events, make sure it has a reasonable group size and it's probably not in a bar where you can actually talk. Just be yourself. And if it doesn't work out, go to a different meetup. I mean, not every group is for everyone, and it's not supposed to be. If everyone is nice at every event, we would not be in this position. But I think the key is to meet more people within the group, and then obviously you'll have people you just say hi and bye. And then you will say a little more than hi and bye to a few more, and then you will strike a good conversation with some. And
so, Arun, you're really telling Julio to just be himself. Is that what you're telling him?
That's it. You don't have to pretend to be someone else.
You think that's going to work?
What would you be saying to Mark? How would you make yourself interesting, Mark? My question is.
Well, I just tell him I know some interesting people like Julio and Kelly. So that's once they know that I know Julio and Kelly. Yeah.
Because
sorry, go ahead. We're coming to the end of the show. It's been great to have Arun from Meetups here tonight. Just thinking about the whole way we can make friends in 2022. And Julio's just going to take us through some of our tips that we've come up with tonight. Julio, take it away, mate.
Okay, number 1, be yourself and talk about common things. Be careful on questions. Number 2, choose things that you are passionate about. 3, ask anyone that knows you what you like. In other words, get volunteered. Gain confidence, networking, get out of your comfort zone. And number 5, make your own group.
Fantastic. Arun, what do you think about those 5 tips, mate?
Those are excellent. I couldn't have put it. That was a great. I think it was a collective set.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could always come up with more tips as you go along. The first important thing is to make the first step.
Yes.
I've seen people take months and months. They've been a member of the group. It takes them a year to come to the first event. They're very nervous. By the second, third event, it's like business as usual. So make the first step, attend the event. You'll be all fine. It's always good to have company, socialize a bit. It's good for mental health as well.
Exactly. Good for mental health.
Amazing, yeah.
So, Arun, with all these meetup events, and I know how many you do, like you said, most nights, what do you do yourself to unwind and relax? Do you give yourself a day off, half a day off for your mental health?
Not a day off as such. So after every event, when I get back home, I would probably watch something on Netflix. I would just eat my favorite junk food, as my wife calls it. But something something to eat. I do unwind for a couple of hours, especially on the weekend. Weekdays, for instance, today I was done with the meetups by 7:30. It was a very short event, so I'm planning to do a bit of photography in the city later on, a bit of night photography. So and also stargazing helps me relax, go out of town, be with a group of people. I don't feel scared anymore. I don't hallucinate, thinking, seeing some things, especially when you're going alone. But going
and here's an idea, Arun. How about you and Julio partner up with photography? Julio helps with our Facebook page. We grow that. Here you go, Julio. Another volunteer option.
There you go. That's it. Another volunteer. There you go. One more thing. Photography in the city.
Yeah, if Julio wants any help, Facebook, just let me know. But I think with Facebook page, it's more on the consistency, and people are always looking for new content. And it's really hard to grow. I was just lucky because of the whole COVID situation and a few viral posts. I struggled initially. I was at 400 members for a couple of years. So,
Wow.
Well, it's been great having Arun on the show, getting some friendships. And Milton, thanks for listening tonight too, mate. It's great to have your support with the others that have been listening tonight. Look, as we start winding up, we might just go round the grounds, around the room. Oh, we've just got another little comment here. Another great show, folks. We'll definitely take a look at Meetup. Might run into Julio. Well, I think that's a guaranteed thing, especially if you're going to look at the stars. The only problem, Aaron, with the stars is they're at hidden locations. So that's an interesting one you got there.
The reason is when I started the meetup, I used to post the locations. We used to get random people at a time when it's so dark and when you're not expecting anyone. We've had people follow us on the train as well. So I know some people question. We've had people, 5-6 people showing up and asking me, "What are you guys doing?" So just for the safety of everyone, and also it gives us no disturbance. So I have just the group of 20-30 people, the stars, and the locations keep changing based on the weather. So I could plan a location on the eastern or the west or the north, depending on the weather. Because as the clouds move, I get more accurate information closer to the event. So and no one wants to go to a place where it's cloudy. So although I have had such instances, but I think I've gotten better over time. So it gives me with the flexibility, managing the crowd, and I get everyone to come to the meeting point. So there's no surprises with people driving there and stuff. So it's just feels great, like to socialize together in the train. Julio can probably talk about the stars or how to spot the Southern Cross. So that's all that you need.
That's great. Claudia Davids mentioned another site called Next Door. So there's a few things online. So I suppose getting online is the way to go. Look, we might finish the show off with Julio's 5 points again. But before he does that, Kelly, any final thoughts from yourself?
No, I just think it's a really good opportunity now, as Arun mentioned, for people to take that risk to get out there, to join a meetup group or Next Door or whatever you feel is appropriate, and to expand your horizon to make some good friends. I think it's a really, really good idea.
And we do have one final question coming in here from Marnie Bone. Thanks, Marnie, for listening. How do you identify your meetup group members at an event? Do you all wear yellow tops, or how do you know that they're from a meetup group?
So, for instance, sorry, Julio, you want?
Guy with hair.
Usually at our events, we have a meeting point, and I post a photo of the meeting point as well. So people usually make out. And when you go to the point, just ask around, are you from Meetup? Usually some people say yes, some people say no. So if you say yes, that's where you are. It's very unlikely that there will be 2 groups doing it at the same time. So
I think everyone wants to meet Julio, so they're just wanting to be clear about how they're going to meet him at a meetup group. Maybe you should wear a yellow top or something.
Yeah, big top hat. Maybe that will work.
All right, Julio, let's run through those 5 as we finish up the show.
Be yourself and talk about common things. Be careful on your questions. Choose things that you're passionate about. Ask anyone that knows you what you like. Gain confidence, networking, get out of your comfort zone, and make up your own group. things that you're good at. And that's the 5 tips.
It's 5 tips. Well, thanks for joining us here on Community Heart Radio tonight. We've been talking about meetups, and look, it's been great having you, Arun, on the show. The one point you did make that we didn't mention was not to give up. So, any final little comment as we finish up the show?
Yep. So, as you join any meetup group or any group for that matter, even if you encountered few rejections or people don't want to talk to you, don't give up. And obviously, if people are not being friendly to you, you can always reach out to the organizer. So that's what I tell people. If you're coming to explore Melbourne, if you've had a bad experience, please let me know. And if the experience has been bad, you probably won't see that member again. So we have that policy of making everyone comfortable. I do encourage everyone to be friendly. So if you do encounter this with any meetup, try reaching out to the organizer. If the organizer doesn't respond or do what you want, you can always leave the group. So there's a lot of groups out there. So don't be disheartened. It's always good to socialize. If one group doesn't work, few other groups will. Thanks.
Perfect.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks, Julio. Thanks, Kelly. And thanks for joining 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio. And tonight we've been talking about meetups.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Tune in every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. or watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and follow us on LinkedIn and other social media.